Hello, everyone. It's 5:30. We are already a few, connected to this webinar. We'll wait maybe 2 minutes, 2 more minutes to make sure that everyone is connected to the webinar. And yeah, let's start at 32 then. And thank you for joining. Okay, time's up. Okay, so well, depending on where you are and when you're watching this, good morning and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for joining. I'm Vincent Durand. I'm the head of startup corporate programs at Health Tomorrow, and it's really a pleasure to be here with you and with Bayer Crop Sciences, Christine, Phil, and Simon. This common webinar is the next step in the partnerships we are having with Bayer Crop Science. We did work this last month with them to connect them with relevant deep tech startups, giving them needed solutions. And they're going to talk a little bit about that. They were also Bayer Crop Science, our partner for our Food and Agriculture Global Challenge category that we conduct every year. So we thank you very much for that, Christine, Simon, Phil, and Melanie, and all the others. And before giving the mic to Christine, Brunel-Ligneau, which is here, VP, Head of Sustainable Agriculture at Bayer, let me please present you what we do at Health Tomorrow. So Health Tomorrow is a company that aims at unlocking the potential and power of emerging technologies, also known as deep tech. And those include AI, synthetic biology, or even quantum computing to help solve our toughest challenges. And these deep technologies, they usually require more R&D, more often than not, more investment, longer time to market, but they have the potential, we truly believe that they have the potential to transform industries and answer real tough challenges. To unlock the power of deep tech, as I said, what we do here at Health Tomorrow, we have 4 main activities. We scout the best, most innovative startups, innovative deep tech solutions in the world by organizing startup challenges, startup competitions, such as the one we did with Bayer Crop Science or our annual global challenge. And by doing so, we've already identified more than 18,000 solutions globally. Then we connect key stakeholders, startups, universities, corporations, but also incubators, investors, or public institutions. We connect them through global conferences and events, offline and online. And we've just had last week our annual Global Summit, our flagship event, for the first time fully online over the course of 5 days. And building on these 2 pillars, events and competitions, we also identify and analyze innovation trends and dynamics and issue every year several reports on these topics. And finally, what I do with my team every day is support companies with consulting services. And really short, what are they? What they consist of basically 3 main activities. We help companies explore and understand deep tech and their opportunities. We source solutions and accelerate businesses and collaborations with startups. And we also co-create solutions together. So the sourcing solution accelerating businesses is what we did with BioCrop Science. Doing so, we are really fortunate enough to have a strong foothold in many countries, a strong international presence, and more than 70 Hello Tomorrow representatives in 30 countries. And that helps us a lot to get the best solutions, not only in France, but also in the world. I guess now you have maybe a clear idea of what we do at Hello Tomorrow, and I don't want to take the mic too long. So I will now give it to Christine Brunel-Ligneau, VP and Head of Sustainable Agriculture at BioCrop Science, as I said, and she will tell you more about their sustainability strategy, and later with Simon, Open Innovation one. Thank you very much to be connected. Don't forget to ask your questions in the relevant question tab or in the chat if you don't find it, and we'll be happy to answer them at the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Vincent, for the introduction. I want to give first a big thank you to Hello Tomorrow for setting up this opportunity. We are very glad that we are going to spend this hour together in order that we can give you a bigger picture about what we are trying to do at BioCrop Science for agriculture and for sustainability. And for our 25 minutes, I will guide you through some slides in order that we can frame what we are looking at. The key message will be about we are looking for sustainable agriculture transformations, and we need startups, we need deep tech, we need innovative thinking in order that we can find out the best solutions we can bring to farmers. And we will have time for further discuss with you guys. So at first, let me first introduce you to what we aim to do at BioCrop Science. So we are looking after new solutions and the ways we can best influence and rethink agriculture to benefit farmers, consumers, and our planet. And to achieve this overall objective, we do have three pillars, three strategies that we really want to move forward. The first one is about delivering world-class innovations. We are an R&D company. We believe in science. Everything we are doing is driven by science, and that will be and remain our fundamental in our approach. But we know we need to think even broader. What we want to do, though, is to pioneer the digital transformation. So how we can embed new technologies and make life easier for farmers, increase performance, while at the same time preserve environment. Which come to the last point, which is about how we can set new standards of sustainability. So the overall objective of these three pillars is about how we can combine technologies, seeds and traits, and digital farming approach in crop protections into tailored solutions to improve and sustain our food systems. And I put a S to food systems because we need to be specific. We need to be very mindful into how the farmers are operating into the different regions and different cropping system. And that's where we need to bring as much as knowledge we can in order that we can facilitate and transition the best technology to farmers. We are looking for tailored solutions to ensure that we can drive a sustainable future, to manage resources and improve productivity. With that, at the context, let's look at the big picture. And the big picture for us is about the planet and where are the challenges. And here is the model that we are looking at, which is, maybe you know, it's a planetary boundaries, which give us some very, very clear guidance. So humanity and humankind has been overusing natural resources, and there are key elements which are today under threats, which are around biodiversity, which is around the land use and the land use and the land use change in particular. So the agriculture is a big driver, but cities are also very important factors. And of course, climate change is a massive impact, and we need to think about how we can improve and how we can mitigate this climate impact to agriculture, to growers, which is very highly impactful to their operations, while at the same time how we can continue to feed the populations. The fourth element is about looking after the nitrogen and phosphorus cycles. For the four pillars, we are above already of the limits of the planetary boundaries. And the last point I want to mention in that boundaries is that in the center is a social foundations. And today there are still more than 2 billion people who are go to bed hungry, who needs incomes, and we need to move them from poverty. So in a nutshell, that's where we are figure out where are the challenge and where we want to position Bayer to drive solutions delivery. The next one, and that's maybe a way to frame our strategy, is about the challenge, which is about the growing populations, thinking around we need to produce more, what at the same time we know already that in terms of land use change, about habitats destructions, we are above the limit. While we need to increase productivity, we need to, we have limited resources and we need to reduce this impact. And there is huge pressure on ecosystem. So here, the idea for us is how we can link sustainability in the core of our business and our R&D technology. So we are looking after a sustainable pipeline development in order that we can address growing populations and limited resources and the need to preserve nature, ecology, biodiversity, and water resources. And what we want to do is that we want to be very transparent in the way we are working, in the way we are tracking our commitments, in the way we will be delivering solutions to farmers. So transparency is really in our DNA. So now let me introduce, is an important slide for us because we have been working around a massive number of topics on sustainability. And my experience was about starting with new Bayer after the acquisitions of Monsanto last year. And we had more than 44 topics to evaluate. And the thinking was how we are going to focus, where are the most impactful to us and where we can best contribute. What was very important for us was to think along the line about we want to be an impact generator. So we want to focus where we can best contribute. So, and that's why we are looking after crop country combinations where Bayer has a bigger share, where we can have a better chance also to influence farmers' way of using products, selection of solutions, and how we can embed it with digitalizations. We land after a lot of discussions and evaluations and third-party review around 6 major topics, and we have 3 transformational commitments around advancing carbon neutrality, reducing the environmental impact, and embedding and empowering 100 million smallholders. So that's our 3 transformational commitments, and today I will be specifically talking about environmental impact and advancing carbon neutrality, while I want still to mention that which are very fundamental for us, and we are working into this sustainability focus area around preserving biodiversity and soil health, enhancing soil health. Product responsibility will always be in the heart of our products because we want to ensure that they do not have impact beyond the use of the products. And we want to ensure water efficiency. So that's very important that to think about the big picture, what we are looking at. But what I would like to discuss with you today is having a special focus about how we can reduce environmental impact, meaning how we can reduce the carbon impact and how we can reduce the crop protection impact on the environment. So maybe as a first, so you see we have these transformational commitments on the left hand, where we have 3 targets which are already there, which are about 30, 30, 100. We want to reduce 30% the field greenhouse gas emitted per kilogram of crop produce. We committed to reduce by 30% the impact of crop protection on the environment, and we want to empower 100 million smallholders by 2030. So we do have a timeline of 10 years. Sounds maybe like far away. I can tell you from a company and R&D perspective, this is tomorrow. And that's the reasons why we think that we need more brains. We need more creativity, we need partnership, we need startup to think and to create more innovative solutions. So let's continue around how we want to work around the greenhouse gas commitments and how Bayer approach climate change and what are our commitments. At first, there is different level of commitments that Bayer has been doing. So as you probably know, Bayer is a 3 division where we have pharmaceutical, consumer health, and crop science. Bayer overall committed to reduce and to be carbon neutral by 2030. That means that it is a commitment that we are making to our own operations. That means that we want to implement energy efficiency measures in our own operations. We want to shift to 100% renewable energy, and we will be offsetting the remaining emissions through the biodiversity enhancing carbon capture. So that's important to understand that for now, 3 divisions from Bayer are looking for advancing for carbon neutrality and achieving by 2030. And of course, we are going to work on the scope 3 around how we can reduce the emissions by engaging with our suppliers. What is also important to keep in mind that Bayer has committed to be a science-based targets member. So we have a SBTi objective around our scope of emissions. So just to mention that here we are also part of these conversations. So, but that's not it on carbon. What was also very important to us is around to think about what is going to happen with agriculture and how could we contribute to advance a carbon zero future of agriculture. So that's the reasons why we have been taking actions and took another commitments around the reductions of by 30% of the field greenhouse gas footprint of our customers. So we are working with farmers in order that one day will be adapting and adopting their practices and adopting new climate smart practices and technologies that can reduce emissions.
Oh, looks like we lost Christine, so she'll be back shortly. I hope. We'll leave her time to connect back. I just want to remind you, and I see that some of you are already asking questions on the corresponding tab. That's great. François, only François and then François-Henri asking questions on the question tab. Don't hesitate to ask your questions, and Christine, when she'll be back and finish the presentation, she'll be happy to answer. She's connecting. She's getting ready. Do we know? Okay. Yes. Back.
I'm back.
Okay, we can hear you.
Perfect. I'm very sorry. Sounds like my credential has been used by somebody else. You still hear me? Sorry.
Yes,
I do not see myself anymore. Update device.
If you can hear us, Christine, we can hear you
okay.
Loud and clear. You can
Sorry.
continue. You see the slides?
I see the slide. I'm sorry.
Great. No worries. People took the 2 minutes to ask more questions on the chat and on the question tab, so no problem. No worries.
Okay, good. So I was talking about growers and how we can advance carbon neutrality in agriculture. So as I was mentioning, it's totally connected to the climate change challenges. And the idea was about saying, how could we embed it climate smart practices or carbon farming in order that we can contribute to reduce carbon emissions and even more sequestrate carbon in the soil. So that's the main idea. And everybody knows that there is a Paris Agreement, which means that there is a new grant of work where we see governments and commitments where they are contributing and engaging the governments to be carbon neutral by 2050, working through NDC to make it possible, while at the same time to see also the Green Deal. So there is a lot of commitment there. And we believe that probably we will have opportunity to support farmers to be rewarded for doing the right thing in implementing carbon reductions activities in the field. What we have been looking at is about what are the levers. And here there are a lot we can work and think about. Some around, of course, crop genetics, because everything you will be doing about closing the agronomic gaps and increase yield will help to reduce carbon emission and to sequestrate carbon. You need to think around technologies like crop protection, of course, as an important one. Water use efficiency will be critical, not only for the water volume part, while at the same time, it's about pumping energy. When you are doing irrigations, you are pumping and you are emitting a hell of carbon. That means that we need to think about along the line, what are technologies that the farmers are using in their cropping system in order that we can leverage opportunity to either avoid carbon emissions or sequestrate in the carbon soil. So it goes without saying that soil management is absolutely critical. We all know that tillage release carbon in the atmosphere. Of course, it has also an agronomic advantage because you bury the weeds. And that's really where about thinking about how we are going to balance the different activities in order that we can support the farmers in delivering high yielding crops, while at the same time with a limited carbon intensity. So here you see the levers. We need to think around the line of crop rotations. Fertilization management is absolutely key. Digital tool will be a key enabler into making a decision process, while at the same time monitoring of activities and tracking easier in order that maybe you can think about maybe carbon credits will be possible, and that will be a way to reward the farmers for doing right things. You need to think about dry seeded rice, because in the rice system, it's all about flooding, which means rice emits methane. And what's happened if you remove the water and then you reduce methane emissions. So there are a lot of opportunity of being creative into embedded these different levers in order that we can reduce carbon emission. So with that, here is just a glimpse of different projects and experience that we have been doing already around technology, around Bayer Intacta, Roundup Ready Pro technologies with a stack of traits where we could claim that we reduce greenhouse gas emissions around 3.3 million cars. It's equivalent. It's helped also conversations that people understand what that means in terms of scalability of the activities. And that's really important to think about how we can support the farmers into doing carbon farming, how we can facilitate these actions, while at the same time activating different tools around digitalizations, crop protections, crop genetics, water use efficiency. So here is different examples that we have been doing. So we know it works. We know that we need to think in terms of scalability, of opportunity to make it implementable by the different farmers, and thinking broad into the ease for implementation. So with that, I would like to continue around the environmental impact reduction commitment, which is also a very important pillar, where of course had a lot of discussions, and maybe I can give you a bit of a glimpse about how we can think around this commitment. So let me first frame it. Environmental impact, crop protection products have impact on the environment. They are registered, they are safe, but it doesn't mean that they still don't have an environmental impact. And that's really about thinking how we can reduce the unintended impact of crop protection. And that's the reasons why we have set a commitment about reductions of by 30% the environmental impact of crop protections overall. So that's we believe that crop protections remain a very essential and important tools for growers, but we need also to listen and to deliver to the market products which fit the market expectations, where we need to also ensure reduce impact. So here, the scope of our activities is looking after all crop protection applications during crop production. So you need to think in terms of field, you need to have a crop, that means a system, and then you start to think about how can I reduce the environmental impact of everything I would be spraying on the crop. And we are looking after active ingredients. And what we are going to do is to set as a baseline the market reference crop protection application program. So that is known per different crops and per crop country combinations. Having said that, that means that we have to think in terms of levers about how we can reduce during the use of application of the products the impact. And here again, there is a lot of levers just for you to brainstorm. So it's about how we can better and better traits which avoid treatments, how we can think about new hybrids, how we can think about seed treatment uses. What about biologics? Should we replace compounds or think around better profile, and how do we characterize this? What about precision farming, where we can know, we can define exactly the best timing ever to spray with a reduced impact on the soil, on the air, on the other compartments? What about enhancements of formulations? And what about product stewardship? So everything you can implement it on the field, like buffer strip or drift reduction measures, in order that you avoid any other impact which was not expected, not intended. So here you can think around a lot of opportunities where we can bring all these solutions together and levers for success. And here maybe I can show you another slide about how, because I was mentioning about environmental impact score and how we are going to measure that. And the way we have been doing it is to work with a university, a third party and consortium of university, working together about developing a new indicator, basically, which is combining already two existing impact measurement, measuring already pest LCI and use stocks. And pest LCI, we have combined both of them in order that we have one unique calculation system and then a scoring of a cropping system. And then we can identify where are the burdens and which levers can be implemented to reduce the impact. So the first part of the assessment is about looking after where is going the active ingredients once they are sprayed on the environment, on the field. They're going part on the air, on the soil, on the water. What are the fractions which are emitted? And then we are implementing a model which is use stocks, which calculating the fate of the crop protection in the different ecosystem. And then we can measure then the ecotoxicity effects. So we have been developing with the university this a new way of thinking about environmental impact, and then calculate different crop country scenarios in order that we can best focus where are the others, while at the same time understand what technologies, what different way of applying the products could be implemented in order that we have a reduced impact on the environment. So that's the way it works and the way we have been building that. And here some example. It's just for you to think through, is about saying, hey, we do have technologies like Intacta and soybeans where we have traits where we avoid treatments on insecticide, for example. Or we can have more specific application technologies or embedded no-till. So there is different directions we can think about. I want also to mention one which is around irrigations and water system. And the thinking was about, hey, we can reduce even the use of crop protections, which could be one direction about thinking applying crop protection precisely and directly where it's needed could be a very good way to reduce the impact. So here, you can see here, there are different ways we can think around that in order that we can facilitate creativity and develop best solutions for the farmers and also comply with expectations of people and planet to have a reduced impact on the environment. So that's the overall examples I wanted to give you. Just maybe a last word from my hand. This is not something we will be doing alone. We are known for our R&D. That's also a huge investment that we will, of course, continue. But here, it's about partnership. So we are willing to work right from the beginning, developing the pipeline in technologies. But research and work in collaborations doesn't stop here. So we are looking for engagement with the market, with downstream, till food chain players, industry who are looking about solutions, buying healthy crops. And that's something we want to do very transparently. And I would invite you to go to the Biocrop Science Hub transparency, where you will find also a lot of data that we are sharing about what we are doing. So with that, I will drop the ball to Simon to continue around innovation.
Thank you, Christine. There's a slight echo from my side. Thank you. I think you can all hear me, so thank you, Christine, for that. My name's Simon Maechling. I work as an innovation scout in Bayer. I'm based in France. Even though, despite my very strong English accent, I'm really happy to be here today to share a few words on innovation and to follow up from Christine's fantastic discussion around sustainability. And I want to pick up where Christine left off and pick up that ball and just share with you what it says on the slide. Is we know that we cannot realize this vision alone, and we know at Biocrop Science that collaboration is absolutely key to our innovation pipeline. And I want to walk you through this slide and give some examples of how sustainability concretely impacts our open innovation strategy, and maybe answer as well on the way a couple of questions that have popped up already in the question box as I go through. So I'll start by highlighting a couple of ways that we've chosen to innovate and to collaborate with different partners. The first one I'll highlight is a joint venture between Biocrop Science and a Boston startup called Ginkgo Bioworks. As you already know, joint ventures are where a business entity is created by two or more parties, in this example, Bayer and Ginkgo, and it's generally characterized by the shared ownership, the shared returns and risks, and the shared governance. And to give you an idea of the technology that joined by Bio delivers is they were founded to solve one of the urgent agricultural challenges threatening our global food supply and environmental health by using a combination of synthetic biology and beneficial microbes. And they have a very scientifically rigorous approach and a microengineering platform, and are developing sustainable agricultural biologicals for crop protection and for fertility that meet or exceed the performance of their chemical counterparts. And one of the ways this is measured has been highlighted very clearly by Christine in the previous slides around the environmental impact reduction. And that's how we can measure this increased performance and this increased sustainability aspect. And the first product is an engineered microbe that enables specifically crops like corn, wheat or rice. And this is the fantastic part. It helps them convert nitrogen from the air into a form that they can use for fertilization, which is something that the plants couldn't do before. And so in this example, it's significantly reducing the environmental impact and the reliance on chemical fertilizers by taking something which is abundant in the air and transforming it in plants into something that we can use very readily. So there's a fantastic example there. I'll quickly mention the WEMA initiative because this is an example of the different types of collaborations we do from our toolbox. So it's not just about joint ventures, it's also the opportunity to have successful public-private partnerships. In this example, I mean, we're obviously committed to driving innovation into new markets, partnering with organizations to improve quality of product. And the great example here is the water efficient maize for Africa. And this is a project a collaboration run in sub-Saharan Africa. And the key here is combining diversity of skills and advanced breeding techniques and working to deliver crops that are very drought tolerant and seeds that drought tolerant seed varieties to sub-Saharan countries, with the ultimate goal of improving harvests by 20 to 35% on average. So far, more than 5,000 tons of improved seed has been sold royalty-free through the program, and has been successful in bringing new hybrids to growers. And here, collaboration and local partnerships have been absolutely critical to the success of this example. Another example I'd like to highlight is a collaboration and a co-development with Netafim. Netafim, you may know, is an Israeli company, and Bayer and Netafim have joined resources to co-develop crop protection products that are applied through drip irrigation. So this allows for a very precise way of irrigating that can really be called precision agriculture of the future. And in this approach called drip by drip, both the water and the crop protection products are distributed throughout the fields via the drip irrigation system, being delivered directly to the roots of the crops. And you can imagine already a couple of advantages of this technology, enabling farmers to apply the products in a more targeted way using Netafim's drip irrigation technology. And recently, another joint collaboration was announced, which will, under this collaboration, there will be comprehensive data sets generated and used experimentally to calibrate digital prediction models for optimized application of crop protection compounds via drip irrigation. So it's not just about the drip irrigation now, it's about having algorithms optimize the best timing, the best ways, the best moments of the day to apply the product in order to support everything that Christine's been talking about, and especially around the environmental impact reduction. So another important point, of course, is about turning today's impossibilities into tomorrow's breakthroughs. And we know that requires next level collaborations with scientists, innovations and farmers. And this is where Hello Tomorrow plays a vital role. By partnering with Hello Tomorrow, as we did this year in the summer, we launched the International Startup Challenge specifically to scout for new startups and new technologies that could support us and to help us shape the future of agriculture. We posted with Hello Tomorrow 3 challenges, and we received over 120 quality applications for technologies that could answer the problems that we shared. And following our selection process, we chose for us what were 6 of the most promising startups and invited them to a pitch event. And in the pitch event, we didn't just put the technology in the forefront, we highlighted the potential sustainability impact And in particular, the winners that were selected, Creatis, who offer a technology for in silico toxicology, and AgriSage, which was voted by the audience. The event was open to the public and the audience could vote. Their technology from AgriSage was based on precision farming. And we highlighted as well how both startups show the potential to directly support our goals in reduction of environmental impact. So I think that in the last 25 or so minutes, you've seen how we contribute to sustainable agriculture of the future. And I think you may have learnt, or you may have learnt a little bit more about our contributions to sustainability. And you've definitely realized, and this is something you knew before, that we alone in biocrop science cannot realize this vision alone. And we know that collaboration is a key. So based on that message is for any questions after the call around open innovation, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So I'm Simon, I'm on the left of the slide, or Phil, to hear more about our open innovation strategy at Biocrop Science. I'd like to thank you and hand over to Vincent, who's going to add some closing words before we move on to any questions. And I can see there's quite a few popping up. If you haven't already asked a question you wanted to ask, please add them to the question box now at the right of the screen, and we'll get to them in a minute. So Vincent, over to you.
Thank you very much, Simon and Christine, for your testimonies and presentations and all the examples here. I think, as you said, it's ambitious and it has to be done together with the right ecosystem of startups and technology and solution bringer. Yes, as you said, I'll let the participants connected ask a few other questions or vote for relevant ones. In the questions tab, we have already a lot, so I'll try to talk just 2 or 3 minutes at most. And yes, and I'll leave Christine and Simon prepare themselves to answer them. Oh, there was a thank you slide. Yeah, just to go back on that, what we did with Biocrop Science here and Simon's and his team was what we call the Startup Challenge. And I don't want to go into too much details here, but basically this is a 2 to 3 months end-to-end tailor-made program. Sorry, I just mute you. And leveraging our large and really global network of startups, and the idea here is to source and connect you with deep tech startups that will bring innovative solutions to your needs, and that's basically what we did. And if we stay on the subject of sustainability here, on the sustainability, maybe decarbonization alone, we already have more than 1,100 deep tech startups in our network, with each their unique solution around the globe, as you can see on the geography spread here, and with really various maturity levels that will answer your needs, whatever the industry, in a way. And just to give you a few examples, because we don't have time to do much more than that here, but a few examples of what you can find in this database. You can find Dendra Systems, that was firstly known as biocarbon engineering, using drones to massively plant trees. You can see Bound for Blue, one of our winners last year in our global challenge, using for developing wing sails for cargo boats to reduce emissions by up to 40%. It's great startups from Spain. You have Safety Line, basically your software solutions to save fuel, or carbon upcycle technologies here from Canada, converting CO2 into high performance additives for concrete. And all of these solutions, they touch every industry and can bring solutions there, and they can improve your operations, they can boost your business, allow you to touch new markets that weren't touched before by your company and your team. So that's really it for me. I don't want to speak too long after all that. I really want you to have the occasion to answer the question, Simon and Christine. But please, if you feel like these startups might be interesting for you, if you want to be connected to relevant deep tech startups, bringing real solutions to your issues and problems, or helping you out on some topics, especially on the sustainability challenges, please connect with us. by email, website, whatever you want. Don't hesitate. And I leave the mic to you now, Phil. I think you selected a few questions. We had a lot, right?
We did. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you.
It's quite great on the system here. I can rank them by the ones that have the most votes. So, you know, for the participants, if there's a question there on the list that you'd like the team to answer, please get in there and vote for your favorite questions, and we'll work our way down the list. Simon, this first one's probably more for you, and you touched on it a little bit in your remarks, but maybe to reiterate, the question is, how is Bayer planning on collaborating with startups, tech companies? Is it through investment, commercial collaboration? I think maybe a question getting to sort of partnership models.
Yeah, thanks, Amelia, for the question. And I think that's a great question to kick off with as well, Phil. So we have a number of options in our toolbox on how we collaborate with startups. I went through a couple on the slide, ranging all the way from joint ventures to proof of concepts. It's really a case-by-case basis. There's no one size fits all. And it depends on the need, the technology, the startup, the collaboration, the partner. So it's really done on a case-by-case basis. Yeah, there's a number of ways we do it, and as I say on the side, joint ventures through to public-private partnerships, through to proof of concepts, through to mentoring of all the different things that we offer in the agrochemical sector.
Good. Thank you, Simon. Christine, one for you. How far back in the supply chain are you looking to make a change? I.e., are you looking for initiatives to develop greener processes for agrochemical production, I think, as an example? And you're muted.
Yeah, you're still muted, Christine. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, that's a good question. So, yes, the commitments around carbon neutrality include the product supplies and processing. So that means that there are a group of colleagues from product supplies working into how we can better improve consumption of energy, while at the same time transform the processing in order that we have a possibility for recycling or reducing carbon emissions. So that's starting pretty early, in the early phase, as far as it's part of the scope 1 and 2 of our commitment. This is totally something we integrate in the early phase.
Super. Another question kind of a little bit downstream of that, I suppose, is firstly, your solutions are really innovative in theory. Here we are all the time talking about the recent technologies which require deep understanding of newly emerged scientific fields. So how do you plan to convey these possible solutions in a simple way to farmers? So they really think at the other end, not the supply chain, but how do we talk about it with our pharma customers?
That's a very, very good question. So I would see two dimensions, even three. There is a big part of knowledge to ensure that farmers understand the benefits of using technologies, and that's very, very important. Then because the question addresses the questions of ease and how easy it is to implement technology. It's never easy to accept changes already. So we think that the digitalizations will be absolutely key to help decision making into transforming our practices. But that means that you need to have a broader perspective into thinking about what the technology will change on the operations of the farmers, but what can he expect from a carbon perspective, on the environmental impact perspective, which means also what type of value he can get from that. So we are thinking also along the line about we could create business case around that to facilitate transformation from the farmer's perspective. It doesn't avoid that that means a lot of education, data, in order that we can show adaptability to different systems. That would be absolutely key.
Excellent. Simon, you're muted also.
Yeah, I was, sorry. Thank you. Just to build on Christine's answer and just to bring it into the startup world, I don't think it's that different from a startup pitch. I mean, we take our products and we pitch it to our customers. And I spent most of my afternoon in startup pitches as well. And I don't think it's that different. It's about getting that value proposition, the business model canvas right, and explaining the value and the efficacy and the benefit of the product.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. Maybe a question for you, Simon. At what stage of technology commercialization does Bayer typically get involved?
That's a great question. I mean, there's so many answers to this one, and I'll keep it simple. I mean, the earlier the better would be my proposal, but we get involved in all stages.
Thank you. And maybe a structural question. I'm not actually sure if this is best for Simon or Christine, but how do you structure the budget to work on these innovation solutions? Is it R&D, corporate, marketing? How do we think about actually delivering this?
I'll happily take this one, Christine, and please add anything if you want to add on. So really, it's from the R&D budget. We have the innovative solutions. We have a certain percentage earmarked as our open innovation budget, and that's the best way we found to work with that.
Yeah. So maybe to mention, from a corporate perspective, there is also a LEAPS initiative, which is about also funding some technologies and thinking along the line of developing new technology benefiting to the group. So I would reiterate just what has been said by Simon. Primarily, budget coming from R&D. That's definitely the first way we will go.
Okay. Okay, another one for you, Christine. In your environmental impact reduction goal, do you consider protecting biodiversity and reducing deforestation? Are Bayer researchers exploring other designs than monoculture to get some inspiration from permaculture, organic, biosynergy with other plants or animals?
That's a great question. And the short answer is yes. So that was also a very important learning we get when we were structuring our targets around environmental impact and greenhouse gas and small odors and water piece. They are all interconnected. And that means that we need to think about, we need to drive targets, but we need also to think more holistically about which ones will imply or have an impact on the other one. And you have always co-benefits, you have synergies, and sometimes you have side effects that you will need also to consider. So yes, definitely, biodiversity at itself as a topic will be a very specific research area. What we are looking at, and just to be very transparent, we have embedded in the same topic soil health and biodiversity. And our strategy for biodiversity is structured in 3 pillars. One is about how we can transform cropping system to enhance biodiversity within a cropping system. So biodiversity at the farm. The second pillar is about biodiversity beyond the farm. So it's at the landscape stand, meaning about how we can support reforestation activities, protection, while at the same time help to support native species development. And the last pillar is about sharing genetic resources. So yeah, my answer a bit long, but biodiversity at itself is a pillar in our strategy and is very complementary because, of course, when you think about you reduce greenhouse gas, so you want to challenge and mitigate climate change, that would be beneficial to biodiversity. You reduce environmental impact with crop protections, you will also preserve biodiversity side effect. So that's exactly what we are trying to do. But again, there is a pillar on biodiversity as such.
Okay, thank you. Simon, one for you. How do you structure your collaborations with innovative startups and research institutes along with the internal teams? So maybe thinking about that alignment with our internal researchers, and are there any collaborative projects emerging?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in the innovation sourcing team where Phil and I work, we're about 14 people scattered all over the world. and we would be, so to speak, the first point of contact. And we'll work very closely with our experts, our functional leads from the different departments within biocrop science, and we'll help support them and help to support the startups that we're working with to find that sweet spot, that win-win collaboration. And in terms of collaborative projects emerging, one thing I'd just mention about Lyon in France is we have a research centre there with 200 researchers, and we also have a very small incubator on the site. We're incubating currently a company called Gene Covery, and I think if you keep watching the press, then you'll be able to see some collaborations emerging from that, and how we found them in one of the startup programs. And yeah, watch that space.
Excellent, thanks, Simon. Christine, back to you. Is your focus on farmers working on human or animal feed, or both?
Both. I think that's a very good question, because of course at first you need to think about what are the challenges you want to address. And the first thing that we want to serve is agriculture and farmers with a big S, but basically thinking around farmers producing for food, for human, which means that all type of food, horticulture is a very important one. So, but also because we are looking after smallholders, and they are the ones who are producing the most of horticulture and fruit and vegetables, so that's an important one. We need to think along the line of other type of systems, which are corn and soybean for feed, animal feed, and that is also very important to address the impact of this crop system. So yes, we are looking after as much as we can on the farmers' profile.
Great. Vincent, maybe stop me when we're out of time, right? Hopefully we have time for a couple more, but I want to be respectful for other folks.
No problem. We still have a few minutes, okay. And yeah, let's continue. Great question.
Okay. Are you so Christine, one for you? Are you pushing for pesticide use reduction, and how do you measure that?
We are okay. So our commitment is about the reduction of environmental impact of crop protection. So the way the question is asked is more about like the use of crop protection. So it sounds more like volume, and that's something that it's important to understand, and that's what we have been working around, developing an indicator measuring the impact, which is a different perspective here. And the message around the impact is not necessarily driven by volume. That's something it's important to think around. And that's the reason for us that was important to work with the University of Denmark to work into how we are going to measure and how do you characterize with one score the impact of crop protection on environment, which is not about the use of crop protection as such. I mean, like if we think in terms of volume thinking. So there is a different approach here. And the opportunity here is much bigger in terms of innovations, because you have lots of levers to reduce the impact. So that's, for me, very, very important to raise here.
Excellent, thank you. Simon, back to you. And one maybe to think about is what proportion of innovations are co-developed?
Yeah, thanks, Francois. That's a great question, and that's a difficult one to answer with a solid KPI. So the KPI I've come up with would be what is our R&D budget? Our R&D budget in biocrop science is about 2 billion euros a year, and then what percentage of that is used for co-development? And I'm sorry, I don't have that number in my head.
Fair enough. Something we can look into maybe. So Christine, back to you. Do you take soil biodiversity indicators into your impact models? Are they factored in?
Okay, I think so. Yeah, the model is evolving, so we will integrate further some factors. So when we talk about soil, I want to precise that here. The impact on soil organisms will be integrated in the next year. So, I mean, the soil ecotox element will be integrated. So that's definitely an area we know that we will have to improve the model. So that's a task for 2021. So, yeah.
Excellent. And another one sort of on a similar vein, but how do you have third independent party audit and verify your greenhouse gas actions and results? So how are we measuring the outcomes here?
So yeah, that's a very good question. It's very important. As I was mentioning, that we want to be transparent. That means that we need to report our tracking and our progress over the years. So it takes a bit of time to set up all this system for tracking, but the aim is to publish every year our results. And the data will be reviewed by a panel of experts. And that will be following standardizations and ISO in order that the data is reviewed and audited by external parties. So that's exactly what we are building up. So we have set up a panel expert, 3 experts, external, I want to say, from university and group for each of our commitments. And they will be reviewing the data and reviewing the tracking of our progress. They will be published in our website.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Christine. Phil, can we have maybe the last question?
All right, the last question.
Thank you very much.
What is the role of nitrogen and water in the zero carbon emission target?
Okay. So then maybe to clarify again, the targets we do have in agriculture is about the reductions by 30% of the field greenhouse gas emission. And when you talk about greenhouse gas emissions, you include laughing gas, methane, CO2, so different greenhouse gas and you express everything into CO2 equivalent. So the nitrogen piece will be then exactly measured in that measurement, in that calculation. So nitrogen and fertilizations are core elements where we can influence for reducing the use of, because we know farmers tend to overuse fertilizations because it's jumping the yield. So the idea is about how we can find the best way to reduce and think further into the fertilization plan. When it comes to water, when you look after irrigation system, you pumping a lot of energy when they are irrigated system. So here you have a double win when you are successful into recommending farmers with technology like IT intelligence into how we can best irrigate his field in order that he's reducing the volume of water use while at the same time the diesel burned to pump the water. So that's the 2 ways we are looking after the field greenhouse gas emissions. And that's about advancing the carbon neutrality in agriculture. That's where we will be contributing.
Super.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Yeah, we didn't get to answer all the questions. I'm sorry for that, but would certainly encourage folks to reach out if there's anything to follow up on.
Yes, exactly. Maybe I can go back to the slide with up this one. Don't hesitate to reach out to Simon Phil, for instance, on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, first Christine, Phil, Simon, for this webinar. Thank you very much to all the participants and attendees. Many questions, so really happy that we had the opportunity to answer at least part of them. We are looking forward to hearing from you for the next steps of our partnership between How Tomorrow and Bayer. And I myself am also available to discuss these subjects with you. Thank you very much. Have a great day, night. I don't know where you are, but my daughter is going to storm the place in a moment now, so we'll have to disconnect. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.